Now let's look at the startup culture in Africa. With me in the studio now is Moses Akwa. He's with Afrelink, a company that promotes African startups here in Europe, and the CTO of GreenTech Capital. Moses, earlier in the show, we talked about corruption in Africa and how it remains a problem in many of those countries. Doesn't that still keep the average Western investor away?
I would say no, to an extent that there is a whole dynamic paradigm shift. If you look at what we call the tip factor, it's about technology, innovation, and policies. So right now what we've seen is that despite the fact that there is corruption, there are things that are actually changing it. It's the instrument, it's the innovation that is coming up, and that is actually getting the appetite of investors to come in. And that's why we can see that there's been a huge rise in investment.
What's the business climate like for startups across Africa? And it's not the same everywhere, is it?
No. So, I mean, if you look at countries like Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Kenya, they have been actually going way further in terms of the policies that they have made, and that has actually made it very easy for them to actually compete in the global sector. But if you look at other countries, they are still lacking behind because certain policies are still not there. And that is actually making it very difficult for some African countries to actually catch up. But at least there is a good example with other countries like Rwanda and Ghana and, let's say, Uganda also kind of showing traction at the moment.
If you say policies, we just heard Moses talk about corruption there. Is that a big problem?
Yes, corruption is a big problem. But again, it's because there are no instruments or there are no tools that would actually curb these corruption. Because if there are like simple tools that would let you be able to register without going through middlemen, it will cut down corruption. And I think that's also one of the things that if you look at African startups, they are actually building businesses that actually directly affect the needs of the people. So what they are doing is digitalizing these kind of processes that will cut down corruption. And I think that, like I heard you say, is corruption here to stay? No, corruption is actually being every time eradicated from Africa.
Very good. Moses Akwa, thank you very much for joining me in the studio today.
Thank you so much.